million lights, they flicker there. A million hearts beat quicker there. No skies are gray on the great wide way, 'cause that's the Broadway.
Hey guys, thanks for clicking in. I'm Jason Crawford Samuel,
And I'm Patrick J. Golden.
and this is Backstage Banter.
This episode we will be discussing The Divine Sister by Charles Busch playing at Fells Point Corner Theater. This production is directed by Steve Goldklang, with set design by Roy Steinman, light design by Charles Danforth III, sound design by Andrew Porter, and costume design by Anthony Lane Hinkle and Maria Bova of 18 Jones, and The Divine Sister is playing through December 18th.
Now, The Divine Sister is brought to us by the same author who brought to us The Tale of the Allergist's Wife, as well as Psycho Beach Party, just to name a couple, Mr. Charles Busch. And The Divine Sister actually takes place in Pittsburgh in 1966 at the St. Veronica's Convent School. And just by the name, you might think that this has a very heavy religious theme, but it does not, actually. Actually, this is an overall show. Overall, this is a show about not losing your faith and hope, and it's told through witty humor, lots of humor, throughout the production.
Right. With a bit of irreverence and debauchery thrown in to add to the humor.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Alright, so let's start with the set design. So, set design by Roy Steinman. I thought the set design was very simple. It was traditional theater. Painted windows, stained glass windows, and, painted fireplaces and living rooms and everything. It wasn't going for realism, which is fine with me because I'm kind of a traditional kind of theater person anyway. I don't mind painted scenes. But, they used rolling flats to show different settings, and it worked nicely. He had a very good use of the stage, and it worked very well for this piece.
Right. Well, I mean, the show is not written as a spectacle, and it shouldn't be done that way. I mean, it's all about the actors and the comedy therein. And that being said, it's not minimalist either. So, I mean, every scene, you know exactly where it is and everything else. I think he did a great job with it.
Right, he really did. And, it's not minimal. There was stonework, painted stonework throughout, because it's set in an old church, a convent, and that was very detailed. He had a very good eye for detail when it came to that stonework. Now, to go along with set, though, the set changes. The crew did a very good job. They were very precise. They were very cautious. But I think them being cautious made the set change go just a little longer. All of them went just a little longer than I like. But then again, it was opening night. So that kind of stuff works its out through time, and overall set design was spot on, and kudos to Roy Steinman for his design.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
And that takes us to lights by Charles Danforth III and sound by Andrew Porter. I believe the lights were definitely well done. They were appropriate to each time and scene and where the location was in each one, and they didn't clash with the show at all.
Right. When it comes to plays, light and sound, not to diminish the job of any lighting designer, sound designer out there, you guys do fantastic work. But when it comes to plays, it's not as apparent to the audience, and it doesn't need to be. It's supposed to blend in, and that's exactly what this lighting and sound did. The lighting was very appropriate, whether it was outside in a courtyard was the setting, or if it was in a dungeon tunnel. Everything worked nicely, and it set the mood for the piece, for wherever the setting was. Now, when it comes to sound, Andrew Porter, he used recordings in this. Now, from recordings, I mean like legit recordings. He had musicians come in and singers and do a number, which was actually a lip-syncing number in the show. It's a hilarious number between, Mother Superior and Agnes. And it worked very nicely, and it was very clever the way that he used the recordings. And it was very well thought out scheme, and I think that they both, Charles Danforth III and Andrew Porter, did a really good job with lights and sound. Which takes us into costumes by Anthony Lane Hinkle and Mary Bova of A.T. Jones. Now, these costumes were spot on. They were very authentic, but yet they seemed very comfortable. The cast seemed to move around nicely in them, didn't have any itching and, kind of stoicness going on. And they were absolutely period for the piece. There was a very good eye for detail that these guys had for the piece. It was the 60s, very specific kind of time, and these costumes matched up very, very nicely.
Right, I mean, from the habits to the suits and the dresses, I mean, every piece fit perfectly to the 60s style.
It did. There's a particular character, Mrs. Livingston, who is an older, a middle-aged character, wealthy woman, very fashionista, as it were. She knows her fashion because you find that out through the script and through her lines and what have you. It's a very funny bit. But all her costumes were spot on. Very, middle-aged woman trying to get through the 60s, but trying to stay up with the fads and the fashions. And every ensemble that she had on works perfectly, like she stepped right out of the mid-60s. And then there are even a couple, all these civilian was what I call the non-nun characters. Even towards the end, they get a little racy, a little go-go kind of characters, or go-go costumes, and everything just meshed nicely together. The nun costumes were spot on. The habit, everything was perfect with those down to the rosaries, and the cast wore all the costumes very well. So kudos to them.
Yes, they all did a great job.
Yeah, the costume design was spot on.
Yes. Well, let's talk about the direction by Steve Goldklang.
Okay.
I think he had a great grasp of the story and the comedy, and his vision was clear just through his cast performance. I think he did a great job.
He did. I agree. I think he really did understand this script because, comedy is difficult. Comedy is not easy. I mean, it looks easy because it's funny and we're laughing in the audience, but comedy is not easy. You got to understand the timing, the wit that goes into this. And this is a very witty comedy. You got to kind of get that humor. There's a lot of innuendos that go on with this. But I think he got it spot on, and I wouldn't consider The Divine Sister necessarily a farce, but it has a lot of farcical aspects to it. Entrances and exits, running around, things going crazy. But, he grasped that. He kind of reined that in and made for a very well thought out production. Now, and he also had this very good balance between poking fun of a religion and mocking a religion. He did not mock any religion. He poked fun at it, which was fine, and it made for a very good production, overall production, and like you said, his vision was clear. His cast helped him out with that. Everything just fell into place with this production, and I think Steve Goldklang did a very good job with this. So, going on to the performance aspects, let's talk about some of the performances. Let's start with Katherine Daniels. Now, Katherine Daniels plays Sister Wahlberga, as well as Mrs. McDuffie. Now, Katherine, she gave a very good showing in this piece. She had confidence on stage. She seemed very comfortable with the characters, and she seemed to be the only character or the only actress that had to deal with foreign accents. But in my opinion, I think she probably would have benefited from working with a dialect coach. I didn't see one listed in the program, but her accents kind of fell flat for me. She was losing them. They were coming in and out. Sometimes you didn't understand what she was saying, especially with Sister Wahlberg, who's this very stern, German nun from the mother house in Berlin. And Mrs. McDuffie is this Scottish cleaning woman. And both of the accents, like I said, they kind of fell flat. But, again, she gave 100% to her performances. She was dedicated. And overall, gave a very good showing.
Right, I agree with that, especially when it comes to the accents. I do have to say they may have fallen flat, but I believe she was consistent throughout with them completely.
Yes, she was. She was. And like I said, overall, give a very good performance. That takes us into Tom Lodge, who actually plays the only male characters in this piece. And he does a very good job holding his own against, all of the female characters. He plays Jeremy as well as Brother Venarius. Most of these characters play more than one character. Jeremy is the main guy that he plays, and again, one of the only male characters in this. And he's believable as Jeremy to me. He did a very good job. He had a good accent going. It's very New Jersey, New York kind of accent going on. And he was confident in his role. And, he was funny enough that, the role guy, I considered him more of the straight man of this. But, overall, he did a very good job with that character. Now, as Brother Venarius, it's a little different for me. Brother Venarius was kind of a strange character for me. You never saw his face, and, he had this really kind of crazy accent. I wasn't sure what he was trying to go for or where he was trying to make his character from. But, that kind of fell flat for me as well. The accents, I'm big on accents, and sometimes I might be a little too picky sometimes. But overall, great performance from Tom Lodge, and it was very good work.
Right. I think he did great. When it comes to the character Brother Venarius, that was actually one of my favorite characters. I just laughed hysterically at him. And for the character of Jeremy, he did great with that part. There were some spots, I believe, the comedy kind of fell flat. And I can say as a performer, reading a comedy, I don't get it all the time. It's very hard to read
difficult.
comedy. And sometimes it's also very hard to explain. But I mean, don't get me wrong, he was hysterical throughout. And he did a great job.
Yeah, he did. He did a fine job. Again, being the only male characters in the show, he held his own. And that takes us on to Holly Gibbs, who plays Sister Acacius as well as Lily. What did you think of Holly's?
Holly, I've had the pleasure of seeing Holly through the past few years in Baltimore Theater. She's been around much longer than I've been seeing her. But that being said, she truly is just amazing. When it comes to, she's a great comedic actress, and when it comes to comedy, she just throws modesty and pride out the window. She's not afraid to do anything for the sake of the show.
Right. She does. She's a great comedic actress, like you said. Her comedic timing is spot on. Holly is that kind of performer. I always get a very good performance from her. She has not disappointed, and this is no different. She really is a great actress, staple in Baltimore theater, and I'm glad that we have her here. I'm really glad we have her here. And again, great comedic timing. Great accent for this character. She too had the New York, New Jersey accents, which worked perfectly for her. She understood her character. I think she takes the time to actually get her characters, and she's comfortable with being a fool, like you said. She doesn't mind making a fool out of herself for the good of the show, and it works perfectly. So, beautiful performance, spot on performance by Holly Gibbs in this one. And that takes us on to Anne Shoemaker, who plays Agnes. And Agnes is like the postulate, and for those of you who are not in the know, the postulate is kind of like the nun in training. And throughout this, I had the opportunity of seeing Anne in a production of Julius Caesar over the summer. But this, I liked her better in. I'm not saying I didn't like Julius Caesar, but I liked her better as a comedic actress. She was very good. She was actually a standout in this production for me. Her comedic timing is on point as well. And she has a good balance with her character, because her character kind of plays an innocence and a craziness all at the same time. And she pulled it off perfectly. Very confident, very commanding on stage. Very, very good, outstanding performance from Anne Shoemaker.
Yes. And I happened to see that same production of Julius Caesar, and this was definitely a standout from that. She turned out to be an amazing comedic actress, and even she has this great presence on stage, and even down to the subtleties of her facial actions and her eye movements on stage. She was just brilliant and a pleasure to watch.
Very good facial expressions, and yes, like you said, a pleasure to watch. That takes us to Linda McClary, who takes on the roles of Mrs. Levinson and a smaller role of Timothy. Now, Linda McClary is hands down one of the highlights of this production for me. As Mrs. Levinson, she is absolutely brilliant. Again, Mrs. Levinson is a character that is a middle-aged, wealthy woman who's always getting hit up for donations. And of course, you know, you have nuns that are going to ask for money. So, but in a more intricate part as well that I won't get into here. You got to see it to see what goes on. But she had a good balance of snootiness, yet humility that she played this character with. And she was a fashionista, first and foremost. She wore those clothes very well. And she was comfortable in her role, in her mannerisms. Her mannerisms were spot on for this character as Mrs. Levinson. Now, as Timothy, Timothy's a child, about 10 years old or so, goes to the school at the convent. And now, it's always difficult when an adult plays a child anyway. It can go one way or the other. Now, for this, I think McClary played Timothy a little to the extreme. The character Timothy is very funny. I mean, he serves his purpose in the piece. But I think she went to the extreme, almost to the point that it wasn't funny anymore, but almost annoying. But overall, the things that I didn't like about Timothy, she made up for Mrs. Levinson and gave an outstanding performance.
She did amazing. Her portrayal of the
Mrs. Levinson or
Mrs.
Timothy?
Levinson, thank you. It slipped my mind there. Her portrayal of Levinson was great. In fact, there was a portion or a part of the show where she's telling a story, and I can't remember if the lights dimmed or anything, but really I just focused right on her. She pulled me in with no problem, and I guess stuck there with her. And as for her portrayal of Timothy, I agree with you, but to the point, I believe Timothy was more annoying in the script. Like, I think he had a little too many lines, but otherwise, I loved her energy for it. I was very pleasantly surprised with that, and yeah, I thought she did great.
She did a fantastic. And last but not least, that's going to take us to Steven Schreiner, who plays Mother Superior, aka Susan, who was Mother Superior in a former life. And hands down, Steven Schreiner is the absolute highlight of this piece. Now, he's like the main character, and I hate saying that because this is an absolute ensemble piece. Everybody has their role. But he is a standout and a highlight for me. He's hilarious. His comedic timing is on point. His delivery of the lines was nearly flawless for me. And he almost even had this regal voice like you would expect from a Mother Superior. And he wasn't like doing it in falsetto or anything either. He was like using his regular voice, but I mean, it just worked perfectly. His delivery was on, and he was very authentic as this character. And I think that's what helped him with this character. I think that one of the tricks was he actually played this character very seriously. He didn't play it as, you know, a man in drag playing a nun. He played it seriously, and that's what brought out the comedy, I think, in this. And he played it straight, which made it even more funny. Because, you know, a man in drag has always been funny. It's funny now. It's going to be funny in the future. But when you have the aspect of being a nun, a man in drag as a nun, it's even 2 times as funnier. So, you know, and he actually, he pulled it off nicely and gave a spot-on performance. Even as Susan, the character that he was, the Mother Superior was before, played that spot on, and it was actually a different character than the Mother Superior because it was a different kind of person. And again, just spot on, flawless performance from Steven Schreiner, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing more of his work.
I completely agree. I can't imagine anyone else that could have played this part better than Mr. Schreiner did.
Right, he knocked it out of the ballpark with this one. So, final thought on The Divine Sister at Fells Point Corner Theater. This is a funny, witty, hilarious piece that it pokes fun at religion, but it doesn't mock religion. And overall, I believe it's a story of not losing your faith and hope when life just goes crazy on you. And I would chalk this up as a success for Fells Point Corner Theater.
Yes, absolutely. Please go see the show. It is definitely worth your time.
So it runs through December 18th at Fells Point Corner Theater, which is at 251 South Ann Street. And if you want more information on The Divine Sister or for tickets, please go to their website, which is fpct.org. And if you want to read the written review we have for The Divine Sister, please go to our website, Backstage Baltimore, which is at backstagebaltimore.wordpress.com, and leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up on this video, or like us on Facebook. We're all over the place. And leave us some love. We'd love to hear from you. So until next time, thanks so much for joining us here on Backstage Banter.
There's no business like show business, like no business I know. Everything about it is appealing, everything the traffic will allow. Nowhere can you get that happy feeling when you are stealing that extra bow. There's no people like show people. They smile when they are low. Even with a turkey that you know will fold, you may be stranded out in the cold. Still you wouldn't trade it for